I know
We
that,
move enough in
that
Marie.
Susan was last month's secretary. Not sure.
Susan Pope was last month's secretary,
Yeah.
that is true.
I like the font that she uses.
So,
Nice and big?
Yeah.
do we have this month's volunteer?
I'm not sure which one.
Would it be you, Pat? Would it be Dee?
Dave, was it you?
Who did what?
Secretary? For this
Oh.
Who's
meeting?
in the queue?
No, it's not me this time. I just did 2 months, I
You
did
did 2
October.
months ago. You did it before
Yeah,
that,
but
right? You might be okay.
Thank
Do you have
you.
paper?
Thank you in
Yeah.
advance. Thank you in advance. Well, given we don't know about Marie Wonderful, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Scituate Council on Aging Board of Directors at 5:35 on Thursday, December 14th. Welcome all. We'll do a quick round of introductions as we always do. I'm J.D. Miller, Chairman of the Board. To my right,
Linda Hayes Kelly, Director of the Senior Center.
Kelly Walsh, Outreach Coordinator.
Leslie James, board member.
Laurie Brady, board member.
Dee Dwyer, board member.
Russ Pollen, Board Member.
Pat Calvin, board member.
How do you like this? This is a little bit more intimate. the team.
Yeah.
Kelly, that didn't come up as quickly as you thought. Who am I? What am I?
Right now?
But I do it, yeah, right. Juggling.
I think it's easier to hear each other.
Well, yeah, we welcome you to the role.
Thank you.
How's that going?
New still.
So it may be that no one's read that part, but Kelly is here as the staff guest, but also as the new outreach
Outreach.
coordinator.
Not transportation.
Not transportation. Although she will provide transportation information, because she's got it. But still, so we're very happy to have her. It's already started to feel better.
Yeah. Exciting.
Good, good. I can't speak for everybody, I don't have minutes from last month. So I don't, are they here? Oh,
They're
big
there.
part. I thought that was,
I did not send
That
them
was you, okay.
apologies, you were a little late, and
well.
I
so
have them, but then I
Now that I
didn't.
have found them in my packet, if everyone probably has got the same packet, if you could take a quick look at minutes from last month, meeting minutes, and see if there's any corrections, comments, edits.
The one item that comes to my mind was, we had a little bit of a discussion about it last time, was about the ability of having speakers in the rooms or something, so that we're communication in the case of
We have
emergencies.
first floor to the second floor,
Yeah.
or some of the other individual ones.
Yeah, that seems like it would be, it really comes to mind because when I sat in with the lady who was doing the accreditation interview, this was the one thing that she mentioned as being, because we asked her, there was a group of us there, and we asked her, what do we need to do better?
Mhm.
And that was the thing that
Good
she
question,
brought
that
up.
was a good question.
And she did include that as one of the suggestions, I mean, not maybe in those exact words, but it was post egress, to post egress signage in each room and conduct emergency drills when members are present. So that translated to that, so we will certainly
Yeah.
move on that. I mean, more than that, she doesn't mention the communication, but that's in my notes.
Good.
Just over
And I
on,
think Susan
not
got
on
that.
the minutes, but on this topic.
Oh, yeah, the-
Came in for the health fair, and I said, which one is which room? I said, I should know this by now. And I said that that nice board behind the desk, they could have something like that that says which room is. And the volunteer at the desk said, like, if there was an emergency, she'd have to think twice to which room was located where.
Mhm.
So it's just a,
Yes, we have the schematic, it does display on that electronic board when it's in operation. But nobody's standing there watching the
Right.
board to make
Right.
sure they see the schematic, and it really doesn't matter. One of my next steps, although I don't mention it in this report, because we had a couple of other things that maybe are ahead of it, is a directory when you walk in
Yeah.
on one of the walls, or maybe on the wall by the stairs, which could help.
Above where people sign in.
It could be there.
Yeah, just even like signs that, come up room.
Yes.
Yep.
With an
Because I
arrow.
have-
First
I
floor,
have to
second
ask
floor,
all-
I mean, I've
Yeah.
sort of designed,
Yeah.
not to say
Yeah.
designed it, but
Yeah.
we sort of have it ready to go, pending approval, I guess, from the people that maybe we want to have agreed with what I've done. So, those things could take care of it, it's hard to say with a giant schematic, which I could have done at the very beginning, but didn't. Now you just take it for granted that people do know.
And I will tell you, from working on the desk, 98% of people who walk in the door know exactly where they're going.
Really?
Yes.
See, I never do it.
But you knew when
The
you were, you're
occasional
not here as
blind
often.
Attending, the once a month lectures might need to be directed, but people taking classes know.
Yeah, because they're most things.
Point well taken, though, you
Yeah.
know, it is true, and even if emergency personnel were coming in,
Yes.
you know, they need
Yes.
to know where they're going, and I'm not sure they would
Yep,
currently, so, that would be important.
yeah.
Room numbers instead of names would be much simpler for everybody to remember.
Well, there are room numbers, actually, just with every room and they're posted, it's just that the names, we thought the names would be easier. And we chose the wrong names, that was kind of a, communal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Everybody had a say in the room names, so,
but not, yeah, no one remembers where.
oh, everybody, I mean,
Humrock
everybody
versus
at the
Peggy
time, I
versus-
think board members did, staff did, you know, we sort of threw names in a hat, practically.
Any other comments, questions on the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve our minutes?
So moved.
And a second.
second.
Thank you. Good points. Linda, I'm gonna turn it over to you for your report.
Okay. All right, short report. I did, go before the advisory board, it was a Zoom meeting on Thursday night, November 16th. And that was, I sort of did my spiel with the budget, and not so much the budget, I guess, our accomplishments for the year, what we were proud of, and some of the continued challenges and needs that we had, we felt. So it was a relatively short presentation, without too many questions coming up. And then I have this Tuesday in front of the select board,
Which is a budget review?
which is a budget review. I meant to say something else, it's funny, it's not in here, although I do mention that tax work-off candidates have been processed, we had 22 this year. Actually, as it turns out, on the agenda this Tuesday for the select board is kind of an executive request they put forth through the assessor's office, but to increase the senior tax work-off value, I guess, so the hours would go from, I wish I had it in front of me, instead of 100 hours, it would go to like 133 hours to get a $2,000
Okay.
reduction in the property tax for those working. I mean, I'm not against it, they were very much for it, so I really I don't have that much reservation, I just didn't know if all of the people who do sign on for that wanna do the extra hours. But truthfully, many, especially the ones who do work here on a regular basis, have more than 100.
And
So
the
really, it's
extra
probably not
hours
an
being
issue.
between 33, between 100 and 133.
So is it prorated? If you only work 50, then you get a,
It
you know?
can be, and we've done that. Is it worth it, or would we rather that they finished or roll over? That's also been offered. It was sort of sometimes, if someone really didn't finish, do you wanna just keep rolling it over and wait till you finish and then it goes on the next year? Or do you wanna take the value? And so it really is fine if we take lesser value, yes, it is So anyway, that is coming up on Tuesday, the same night I'm there anyway, so I imagine they might ask me that. I think overall, it's a good idea. It's nice, 2,000 is nicer.
Mhm. Do we have more positions open than 22 candidates?
We have 30.
Okay.
We have had 30 for a couple of years.
Okay.
It's actually, and I've mentioned this as a challenge, it's actually challenging to make sure I have a position to
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
that many people in. Not to say we can't employ everybody here in a regular role that can afford them the 100 hours or more at this point. And a couple of other departments, Widows Walk has been great. Recreation is taking somebody. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, Town Clerk always takes somebody.
Yeah.
But still, I could use a little bit more of that to make it easier to get people in. It shouldn't kind of a slog sometimes. We registered 50 new members for the month of November. I had done that in October. We had more than that, which might have been the result of the open house and the health fair, but still, it's continuing. The Veterans Lunch was a good success. Our senior sing chorus performance back in November was very nice. There were about 25 of them singing for the 45 minutes and a lot of guests. So it was very nice to see, because of course you don't know who's coming from a family, they're not part of the senior center and don't register first, so that was nice. And we've had the knitters
And
just,
isn't there another one scheduled this month?
there is another one scheduled next
Yeah.
week, in
Yeah,
fact.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna remind you.
Which day?
Tuesday, the 19th at 4. Yes,
Yes.
Tuesday the 19th at 4.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because then I'm appointed.
That's great.
So I think they've been having fun. This was just a short little holiday session, and now we're actually planning with Bill, probably to skip January and even maybe February, just because winter can be communication-wise for the weather kind of bad, and the driving's, more difficult. So we'll probably restart in March and then take them through May or into June. The art exhibit downstairs, Terry Coleman, comes down the end. I said 11:29, I meant 12:29. Oops, that's a mistake. And then coming in is the Green family. So Serena Green is a local artist, and she actually had displayed as part of a group of mosaic artists that she actually teaches. But now her grandfather, her father, herself, and a brother, and I thought a sister, but anyway, they're all artists or have been. Her father, grandfather, and actually now the brother are deceased. So it's a very nice exhibit, and that's coming in on the 29th as well. And Skip DeBrusque was nice about hanging a bunch of his artwork on the second floor for the last month, a little over a month. And he actually sold a few pieces, so anyone that does sell work here gives us a 20% commission, which is a nice little donation.
Mhm.
So he's done that for us. And our art exhibit committee of 3 plus myself is meeting monthly and is working on the calendar for 2024, which is actually just about done. I just think we have 1 month we need to fill. As our social day program update, Kelly, who is just sort of doing all roles almost, is filling in the 2 days a week for the social day program, and then officially has also taken on the outreach coordinator role. Once we were able, and I have now filled the transportation coordinator role, so November 28th, Stephanie Kenny started in transportation. Kelly was also nice enough to really orientate her. I was still away the first day. And then she's been working with her, getting her up to speed on the system and the procedures and everything else that goes along with transportation, and at the same time has started to work on her role
Awesome.
in outreach, which we've been waiting for.
Awesome.
The day program coordinator position is posted, has been posted, is on the town website, but went into Indeed a few weeks ago. So we've started interviews, but are now or just posted on the town Facebook page as well. Hoping maybe to find some interest in the local community, someone who might have some background in working with adults with early stage dementia, or in any stage really, dementia or Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's available for a couple days a week, but
Mhm.
it's not a Monday through Friday thing. Yeah.
It has been nice, I think Kelly can probably say, and Jen as well before her, I think it makes some of the families very comfortable that they actually might know, have some connection from past years or schools or kids or something that has kind of made it a little easier for some of them to start in the program, so that's just a little
You know, it's
bonus,
they're
I guess.
wonderful,
Yeah.
you laugh all day with them, like, they're just a great group that are
Mhm.
here, so.
And we were mentioning that honestly, the Monday group, outside of maybe one addition, has been together pretty much since January. And then some of them, most of them, but not all, are in the Wednesday group with a couple of other additions as well, and that's since September. So we still have a waiting list of 9, which I haven't found, but
You do, for both, combine both days or just for one?
it doesn't matter right
Okay.
now.
So we have a waiting
I
list.
think, like anything, I think they, just to have that respite of,
And it's good for them, and I mean, I think the
Absolutely.
bottom line is it's good.
the feedback that I'm getting is that, like, they love it when they come here, because we keep them active for the 5 hours that we're here. I mean, you're on for 5 hours, there's no downtime,
Yeah.
but we keep changing it up, and we go from one activity, brain games, to, you know, some crafts, to lunch, to having maybe a guest come in and do something with them. So it's been great, and it's great for them. They love it.
That's nice.
And maybe they're tired when they get out of here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
By 2
Good-
o'clock, you
good
can
too.
tell, yeah.
Yeah.
They leave at 2:30 there.
Yeah, yeah,
The respite is probably even longer because when they get home, they're tired.
yeah.
Um,
Going back to the transportation person,
mhm.
Kelly will orient them.
She has been, and
Will,
she's,
will they report to her or report to you?
she reports to me, but I think with Kelly's experience and also what we found was that outreach and transportation should work a lot more together. But there's many opportunities for that, so that said, they will continue to do that. Okay, so are there some other, AARP, that was a fast year, so they are already planning on their return, which is, it's a great couple of months. They'll start in February in earnest, receiving appointments through April, so, or not through April.
That's for taxes.
That's for taxes, yes, I'm sorry, AARP tax preparation. We'll start taking appointments mid-January, the packets will be here mid-January, but the appointments won't be until, I think it's February 11th through April
People are
9th.
already asking.
I bet,
It'll be in the newsletter for January, and also there's a reminder that will go right on the front page to look for the mail that comes that's marked important documents about the taxes, and those are the things they're waiting for often, or we're all waiting for.
How many did we get last year to participate in that?
I wish I could conjure up that number, and it's in some notes, but I will say, I mean,
It's not a big deal, I was
well
just
over
curious.
100. I mean,
Well,
it could have been
Yeah,
190,
and-
150.
And a lot of, I think a lot of people didn't get in fast enough, so they didn't get.
Oh, we had
Didn't
to
get it
turn
at
some
all.
people away at the end. And I mean, it's open to not only everyone, really, it's not confined to seniors, it's not, nor is it confined to Scituate.
More to, yeah, more to the town.
And what's since happened, maybe since the pandemic, Hingham used to do it, they're no longer doing it. Marshfield does do it, so I think we're kind of both the ones who are taking the bulk of the South Shore. Weymouth does it, pardon me, but they were very strict with their, they were very strict. So we had calls from Weymouth, Hingham, Norwell. So we did fill a lot, but there were some.
So do we know when we can start making appointments?
It'll be mid-January.
Mid-January?
And they're doing something different this year in that they will have an online registration, so it's not yet clear to me until we see that, how we will know if we were making reservations manually here, how we will know what's been done online. So I'm not certain about that process yet, so we'll find out about it in January.
Is there any way, or would it even be a good idea to mandate that half the slots are open for Scituate residents?
It's not up to us. It is an AARP
Oh.
mandate, and that's why, like I said, it's not even confined to just seniors. They're available. So, you know, it works.
Yeah.
I also, well, I'm thrilled to say I have a new volunteer for pickleball. She's awesome, and she's going in on Fridays and also helping to provide some clinics and orientation for new players. So that's a lot. If I was doing the Fridays and sometimes the Wednesdays, and although it is often self-managed, it's really been something that's, not to say started to get away from us, but we want it to be a very appealing program for everyone involved, and that's just something that takes a little bit of hands-on. And so San Weaver is our new volunteer for that. She's also a great player, so when people
What's
are
her name?
San, S-A-N.
S-A-N.
Sarah, yeah,
Yes.
that's her name.
She has some way to remember.
Yeah.
So I guess this was in really no order necessarily, but our accreditation news, so, you know, I didn't make a big deal out of having sort of orally got some response from them, but I wanted to get the real notice or report, which I really just got yesterday before I sent out the email to everybody. And it was a nice letter. I expected maybe more of a report, but it's a nice letter. And I think I was very pleased, and I really liked what they mentioned for some of the things she was pleased about. The self-assessment process, so really kudos to everybody here who was part of that, but she was impressed by that, and I think that's wonderful.
Can I interrupt to say, if any of you guys know anybody who participated and hasn't gotten this information, let them know. Like anybody who's on your committees or,
Well, I did
Yeah, I
send
know
that
you did.
note separately.
I know you did.
Didn't CC you, but I sent, I think I
yeah,
gave everybody, but maybe
just want to
not.
let people know and keep them up to date and thank them.
Also, in terms of just relevance to you, council members are engaged and willing to work on the action steps in the strategic plan. Very nice, again. The center staff are responsive to members, which we are collectively, and that is a priority, and it's nice that she noticed that, you know, or maybe it was said by others, and that was nice, and thank you. I gave kudos to Jess already, but the volunteer manual is impressive, and she did that, so that was very nice of her to notice and mention. The wide range of programming, which I guess we could be proud of, fine transportation and meals programs, and the building, of course, which speaks for itself. I mean, it does, and it's nice to know that she's seen a lot, and that it's still translated to being a very impressive space. So that was nice. Obviously, it was no surprise what suggestions she had. That was definitely, I think, her own sense that she's reporting a noticeable strain on the staff workload. I don't know if we look stressed, or I don't know.
We also might have mentioned.
Well, but that's different than, you
And
know.
short staff.
Yeah, and we were short staffed, so, but anyway, there it is. She had, of course, mentioned internship opportunities, which we've always talked about. It's just having the time to get to that and getting the right people in the door, if they're available. Annual staff performance evaluations, which is something, and having retreats or having things done that are professional development together, team building. I mean, those are all things we've thought about, but again, it takes time to do that. And,
But even a morning or, yeah.
and then nicely enough, the mentioning of the parking, which is no surprise to anybody. I mean, we know it's there. Everybody's very good natured. We used to say that about the old senior center, everybody's good natured. Now we know how many people wouldn't come before, but the people who did come before were good natured. When they had to park on top of each other or have a picnic in the parking lot, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's a relief, it's very nice. I want everybody to know how grateful I am. And so I will open with this Tuesday night at the select board, even though they do already know, because I did send them an email as well, and then Karen shared as well after.
Oh, no, you should announce it, absolutely.
Yeah, because obviously, community as well.
Yeah.
But then, and actually I hadn't even read they sent along with the letter, they sent a publicity packet, so to speak, and I didn't look at it really. I knew it had logos and things we can now attach to our own communication, but what I didn't realize is that they were maybe suggesting that we do some kind of celebration And Jim must have read it, because he said, you're gonna have a celebration. So I thought, oh, that's a good idea, but I hadn't realized it was in the packet, or maybe it was his idea. But what do you think? I thought really I would bring it up and see. I mean, it's a good reason for an event. They're actually talking about sending it out to local officials, but also state officials, our own representatives, and Patrick O'Connor, I
I
guess.
don't think any publicity hurts.
It doesn't, I mean, it's, you know, and then we'd have staff and community, and, I mean, it would be an opportunity, I guess.
My only point might be, maybe we wait until we get to the first year to try to do something, as opposed to cramming it in.
Oh, we,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
oh, God, these things do take.
Yeah,
Is May
and
senior
it's too
month?
crazy into some.
Is May senior month?
Is May Senior Center Month, I think that was September. But it might be some, maybe there's Older Americans Month coming up, that could be one.
Yeah, so, yeah.
If we waited that long, we could. They are providing us a plaque, and this is not really a point to debate, but she was asking, do you want it to say Scituate Senior Center? And, you know, we're pretty comfortable with that moniker. I know at some point it'll come up again as more and more might decide to change their name to Centers for Active Living, which could become sort of a standard. I don't know why, because I didn't really love it when I first heard it, but there's now two. Hingham is now that, Plymouth is
Oh,
that.
in Plymouth, yeah, okay.
I won't be surprised if others follow soon enough. So I finally said yes, because they're trying to do it, they want to do it, and that's who we are, even if it changes later. So I don't think that will ever be a problem.
The Forever Young Center.
What,
Forever Young Center.
Forever young.
for every young center, I'm sure someone is saying that too. That is very nice. So, all right, well, we'll probably debate that later, so it wouldn't be, maybe in January or February. Even though it's winter, we could certainly
Yeah.
do a late afternoon or
Good
something.
excuse to do something in January,
Okay,
break up the month.
that's
Right, because, yeah, January's a tough month.
Yeah.
Any suggestions, and feel free to bring them as we plan. So the Veterans Lunch was a great success, if I didn't already say that. They definitely served the 120. That was,
That's a good crew.
what was it, 140?
140.
It might have been more.
And
I think you
yes,
were
all right, I
expecting more.
forgot I have my girls here.
140.
Yeah, you were expecting more of it.
That's right. And it went, not to say longer, it was just cleanup was longer and later because of the entertainment
Yeah.
being indoors, and so not really allowing for us to get at the tables and clean them up completely because they're still drinking water or, you know, having snacks. So it was a long day, but worth it. Superintendent had a couple of days of school trainings here, which worked out. We barely knew they were here, and they used the Peggotty Room, which is also what AARP uses for the tax prep, and they also take over the Driftway Conference Room next door here. So it's only Tuesdays and Thursdays, and, you know, we get by, but it does come out of our scheduling opportunities. Etrusco had their Christmas lunch here last Friday. Glad we can do that for them. We had a new committee meeting here just this week, actually, the new bicycle committee, which is a nice committee.
Mhm.
And they are newly formed, so they're working on
You gonna be on that?
bikes, bike safety, as I say that.
I might have some input.
Bike safety and bike opportunities, and Russ, oh, that's so funny you're here, I did mention to them that I had a volunteer person who had suggested the historical bike tours.
Sure, yeah.
So that's always still been on my mind, and she liked the idea too. And the Christmas luncheon sponsored by the SPD Police Force is tomorrow. And we have 105 people scheduled for that. That was the max. Fred is doing the cooking. In the past, we didn't have anything really to do with it. Not only did they have their own officers coming in to volunteer, but they had their own person who cooked. But they don't have him anymore. So they asked Fred, and he said yes.
Nice.
So what do you do with regular? Oh, it's Friday.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Which is either, they always did it on Saturdays.
Okay.
We could have also done, but somehow the Fridays is, you know, it's a little more
Do you
palatable to
need
people who are
volunteers for
working.
that, or are they all set?
You know, 15 officers coming in, and we should. And I am resuming discussion. I finally got a hold of my guy who did the shades, the window shades down in the Egypt and minor rooms, because we need those to be darker. in some way, shape, or form. And now, since having reconnected with him, then there was questions and there's a diagram, and I did involve Kevin for facilities just because he's got the experience, and also, you know, it involves measuring, and I was trying to get the double, so we don't just replace the shades we bought with room darkening. And even still, there's light coming in on the sides of each of the shades, not to get too technical, but it's not ideal. But I did not think of this really. He said, what about drapes? I never wanted drapes or window treatments because it's really such a nice clean room and pretty the way it is. But they could have the backing that
Right.
just covers the
Covers the
window,
window.
and we could make it very plain. We'll have to see, because they have those kind of have the black on the back.
Yeah,
Also,
like a curtain.
we are considering, and I think we have to consider, the screen itself could be replaced. That might be a better idea, because we're told by the woman who comes in to do the art lectures, she uses her own screen. We put ours down to help block a little of the light. She puts hers in front because hers is a white screen versus a gray screen. Did not know about that. Also, the better screens would have a black back, in which case it wouldn't really matter what was coming in on the sides of the windows. So that might be what we look at next. And then as far as the doors go, because we didn't want to put hardware and flailing shades on those doors, someone's coming in this week, well, hopefully, it's supposed to be today, to talk about like the stuff you would put on the glass to make it darker. But you could still see out. You would still get the light and be able to see out, sort of like police cars, I guess. So he might have suggestions. We just haven't talked to him yet, and Kevin knew him, so he's got him coming in. So now all of a sudden, well, we've started the discussion again, but we're not sure how we're gonna go. But we need that room darker. And also, we need those dimmers. We want dimmers to make the room also darker when we have evening events. And also the exercise room needs dimmers, because Rena now, who's doing the late in the day yoga, brings in her own little Christmas lights to make it, you know, give it some ambiance, and her own little lamp, which I could have bought too, but it's much nicer. You don't want the lights on, and you can't have it completely dark because you can't see your hand in front of your face. Anyway, those are the two things that and we have that state money still to spend, so those are the things I was going to spend it on, along with the directory, in fact, so. Okay, for outreach, what we have, or what we could discuss, and of course Kelly's gonna talk after me, but we have 66 recorded Shine appointments for that open enrollment period. So from October 15th to December 7th, more or less, 66 appointments, which Elaine handled the large bulk of them. But then we did call in the woman who had been, she had been a second Shine counselor, but she had dropped out of the program. It was more than she sort of had bargained for. But we called her because we had so many people who were starting to say, we can't even put you on a wait list, we don't know what to do. And so Sue came in and did 3 or 4 days for us, and took those appointments. And Elaine did some things by phone, and has continued, because really there's probably some opportunity for people to still do something if they had to, even outside of open enrollment, so she's still doing that. But we were very lucky to have her, and glad we got through it. Fuel assistance calls are coming in, also requests for snow shoveling, and also some trash pickup requests, and that's something we need to talk about, because we really don't have a program for that as yet. But we do have a program. We want to make it official, a handyman program, because we have not one who's actually been willing over even the last year, when we've just been too stretched to really focus on it, and we weren't really getting specific calls for things, but still. Now we feel like we can probably publicize it, and if people have certain needs, we can fill them with now a second volunteer as well. So we've got 2 guys willing to do that kind of work, and I'm happy to have it, but Kelly in her role will probably be able to manage that, and we'll get most of the calls.
Are they doing it as volunteers?
Yes.
And
Yeah, so some people call and they just want a resource, and they could pay, but at the same time, some people are just looking for help with stuff that you just, somebody mentioned, and one of the
Putting
guys
it-
already did get called, but
Air conditioning.
we replaced
Yeah,
a
air
screen,
conditioner.
you know,
Put
the
those
screen
screens-
with the.
Screens
with
in the
glass.
windows,
Those are
doing,
hard.
yeah,
So those are the kinds of things.
winterizing.
So that is my report, and a little bit about the accreditation. Jess provided the activities and volunteers report for the month of November. We did have a wonderful event. I was away, unfortunately, because I do like him as well, but I don't know if anyone went to see Archie Richards play the piano? Anybody see it?
No, I missed it.
Everybody loved it,
He was the guy who came
which
down from the south, North
he
Shore.
comes
and-
down from New Hampshire,
Yeah.
planes, trains, and automobiles.
Trains love you. Yeah.
But he really is a practiced, self-taught, classical pianist, so real stuff. And so I don't know who did get to hear it, but I know the feedback was excellent. They want him to come back, so right now we're actually planning on skipping the winter and maybe early April having him come back again. There was also the Storybook Cove pop-up, so in addition to the, well, Storybook Cove, I missed that too, but that was the bookstore in Hanover that comes with many wonderful gift items I always buy, but I wasn't here. Then we had the Knitters, who I think had some success and not only had the one day in the big room, the Egypt room, but also just stayed in the cafe for the rest of the week. And now, because we like them a lot and I think people would be interested, or thought people would be interested, they asked the social wood turners are here. They were here today, they're here tomorrow. You know, there's the big luncheon. People are just interested in their handiwork, their artisanship. But it's nice stuff. So that's something I don't mind doing. We have the towels available for sale. Some people have done some card sales. So every now and then it's nice to bring somebody in of interest who's a local artist or a local creator of something that people might like. So we've continued, you know, our memory training was successful and we filled that class, which was done in October, November. So we'll do it again and schedule it again for January, February. It will be myself and a volunteer now, who did it with Jen as well, Blaine McCabe. So we still have 2 people so far that are able to do that. And could train someone else if need be at some point. Jess has some other things. We did a new social event on a Friday morning with Jean Fernandez, who's one of our patrons, participants, but a nice book called Holy Moments, and she just had shared it a little bit in one of the exercise classes, and people responded well, and so she wanted to do a little bit more. And I think that's something people have wanted, a little bit more of an opportunity for connection and discussion.
Discussion, yeah.
So she had about 25 or 7 people in that, and so it's going to continue once a month for now on slightly different but related topics along the lines of enhancing your life and just finding joy or finding ways to respond to the challenges in our lives. Anyway, and let's see,
Has the book bake program been popular?
the what?
Book bake program?
Yes, actually, I think she mentions that. I know she does the librarian's book bag at the very bottom of her second page with Ann Lattenville, and I think sometimes the other guy comes with her. I can't think of his name, which is terrible. You might know it. The one guy in their ranks.
Who is now the librarian, and Ann's taking his position.
Is that right? He left, oh, I hadn't heard that. Ann is taking his position, which,
As assistant director.
okay, you know, I thought he had been made assistant director. Oh, well, okay. Well, Ann was here and she had great attendance at her most recent book bag. Yeah, that's fun. That is about it, but obviously you can see the numbers and they have continued to rise, and we're very happy with what we are showing. Now, transportation, and I can let Kelly talk a little bit about that.
Does anybody have any questions for Linda on activities or directories?
Or just overall. I was gone for 12 days, well, over total, but 2 weeks, because it was Monday through Wednesday of Thanksgiving week, and then Monday through Wednesday the next week, so it really felt like a long time. Though it was at least a short week.
Kelly, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You're gonna straddle everything, transportation and outline, correct? Okay.
Transportation, Linda hired someone new, Stephanie Kenny. She is wonderful. She has transitioned really well into the position. I've worked with her a little bit on doing the reporting, how to use my senior center, introducing her to the different styles of our drivers. So all is good. November, we were a little bit off with, one of our vans is being repaired. So that kind of sent us a little bit in the direction where my goal was trying to really bring down our utilizing that South Shore Community Action Council. So with the van being out of commission, it kind of has changed that a little, with the hopes that once we get it back, we'll get back on track again and keep our numbers going in the direction they were going. Drivers are still awesome. We really have great drivers. The clients, can't say enough about them. We really don't get complaints about any of them. Actually, I don't think I've gotten a
Oh,
complaint
yeah,
ever.
we get complaints,
Yeah.
we get a lot of compliments. We do.
Absolutely, yeah, they're like, they go above and beyond.
There were times when we didn't have this many either.
We have 5, I mean, they're part-time.
Yeah.
I mean, one kind of works a lot.
Yeah.
Now with us missing a van, they're a little off, but, you know, they're there, they're willing to work, they help out whenever I'm short, if a driver takes a day off, they're willing to help out, so amazing, I loved working with them, loved the job as transportation, really looking forward to embracing outreach, and it was my, you know, wanting to kind of get a little bit more involved with the clientele that we have here coming to the center with their needs. You know, you kind of do see it, as Linda had said, with transportation, you're introduced to a lot of these clients, and now I'll be able to actually help them a little bit more than just offering them a ride, assisting with a ride.
You did a nice job on this, and you made some innovations too, like train volunteers.
Oh, no, I've loved it, I absolutely loved it, and I honestly think that Stephanie, you know, is gonna be, you know, hopefully better than I was, you know, because she's really doing a great job right from the get-go. So yeah, transportation, outreach, like I said, a little bit of a learning curve. I am already signing up for some different online classes. There's a hoarding one coming up in January, like, so different things I just want to kind of, you know, gain a little more knowledge on. And outreach, like I said, touch base on that already, not outreach, social day program, love doing it.
For as long as she can keep it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, but at least it's not 3 things. So for a while, she started it, she was still in transportation and maybe already trying to.
And a little bit easier not having, like, transportation and doing social day was a little tricky because you're really hands-on with transportation, that you have to be at your desk, be at your phone. So a little easier with just doing it with outreach. So things are good, all good.
And we do still have the support of, if not Erica, Stephanie, and she has an intern who works with her, Cullen, who also is at the library at least one afternoon a week, and
Yeah.
he's actually seeing clients, and they are older adults oftentimes going in there
There
to.
was a piece about him in the library newsletter
Yeah.
that came out with a photograph.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, to read that.
yeah, he's- So that's been lucky and helpful, and they did just hire the regional grant hired another social worker to work with Stephanie, and that's where Cullen is too. So we have access to them and they are helpful to us, but it is a regional program, grant funded, that they are involved in.
Great.
So we're excited moving forward. Now it's just like, wow, we can start. Because we do have a lot that, you
Well,
know,
and so Kelly, you're gonna handle the handyman.
Yes.
it's
just
a
for-
small thing, but.
Yeah. And have you've jumped into getting out to people? Or having them
So
come
with,
to you?
that's just starting back up again, the handyman position. I mean, I guess I did kind of do it with
With Ron Wheatley.
Ron Wheatley, I mean,
but
and
that
that
was-
was kind of a little bit pre us getting the old program back up and running. he could not get out of his house.
Yeah.
And so we had someone come in and do a set of stairs for him to be able to.
Kelly had those connections, so they did a beautiful job, and sadly, it was only 3 weeks
I know,
before
then he
that
passed
passed
away.
away.
Which was
Too
last
bad.
time along,
It was a
right?
beautiful set of steps, literally, like,
Right.
what would you call it, like removable?
Well, they put a wooden step, like his living room kind of went into his garage, so the stairs going from his living room to inside his garage to get out of his house. Well, I don't even know how he would have even tried to get down those, they were terrible. So they came in, we did those, beautiful job, he was so happy. But then he died?
Didn't last long.
Yeah, then he passed away. Yeah.
That was too bad.
So I'm excited for this other program to be back up and running, because there are definitely needs.
But this is new, it's not back,
Yeah.
it's new,
Oh,
we've
I
never
thought-
done it
I thought
before.
we had it before, no, okay.
We talked about the friendly visitor program, which we did have before, and that also is something that could be
Right.
restarted, which I think is needed, and that's going into the home. Volunteers going into the home for a cup of coffee or
Okay.
a walk or something, so that is something we have before, but they didn't
Oh,
have
okay, oh, okay.
Is Jeff part of the volunteer program? Jeff and Judy, they pick up at the,
Not
Yeah.
officially, not yet, no.
Oh.
He does volunteer, as you know, for us, but maybe if they're doing something else.
he talked about saying,
These are driving me
about
crazy.
wanting to get in on one of those
Oh,
things.
okay.
And he's an engineer, so that comes in kind of.
We would take him anyway. He was in the friendly visitor program too. He did do that. I mean,
Okay.
he's great, and so I'll touch base
Yeah,
with him.
just curious.
Yeah. And have him talk. I think we'll have it in the newsletter this time too, so we could get a response from that. But there are other initiatives that.
Yeah, and, I mean, I think going forward, like, because I'm new at jumping into outreach and I was still tying up transportation, I'll have a better grip on things for next month. Kind of.
But you don't have to come.
I won't have to come, but I'll write up something next
Oh, all right.
month.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but the trash is something
Well,
else. we'll have to
that's
do.
awesome. That they're picking that up.
Speaking of next month, we don't meet, if the center's closed for snow, we don't meet.
That is true.
Is that right?
If the schools are closed, what?
No.
No?
If the schools are closed, we generally cancel transportation because normally the schools are closed because of the roads and we go to buses. Not to say that's always the case, but if the schools are closed, we know we're probably going on. But we don't necessarily cancel activities or we don't close the building because that's only if town hall is closed.
Okay.
That's only if there's an emergency in town. If town hall is closed, we're closed. The other,
Yes, the
we've
meeting.
chosen to be gray, maybe I've chosen to be gray there because I do feel like sometimes the activities could still remain in play and some people still want to come.
Yeah.
So we don't right out of the gate cancel everything. Maybe we will, if it's a tough winter, we'll get on that. We do need to get better and I will put a message on the main number, the auto attendant, so that it does say whether we are open and activities as usual or a 2-hour delay or, you know, canceling activities. So that will help. So we just don't say we're closed just because the schools are closed.
Okay.
But we would be closed if the town hall's closed.
Yes. Yes. And then only because, I mean,
Computer's
Yeah.
connected.
yeah, there's that too. But, somebody, if we're a shelter,
Yeah. We still might be
warming
open for a
center,
warming
excuse me, warming center, then, you know, we get in.
Sure.
Not like we can sit back and enjoy the snow. But,
When,
Go
when
make
it
some.
is a, heating,
Warming center,
pool, warming center,
who
who
decides?
is you're the staff?
Is it usually-
Usually, yes.
Is
Fire
anybody
department?
from town hall come, like?
No. The fire department, I will sometimes ask or rely on them
Yeah.
if there's over and above what is normal to have available. If it's a regular weekday, work day, yes. And any other staff that is able or can or maybe will rotate, but, weekends, you know, sometimes if it's a Sunday or Saturday, yes, they do expect us to open, but I do sometimes ask the fire department. Sometimes they
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Kelly on anything? Transportation or others? We don't have any FOSS report from Elaine. I think maybe folks saw an email from Karen Canfield earlier today. If you didn't, I'm just gonna,
I didn't make copies for everybody, but.
I was gonna just read it to post it here.
The whole thing,
And I'll,
or just
no,
highlights?
just highlights. I wanna let the board know that the select board and the advisory committee are deep in the review of proposed fiscal year '25 budgets. As you know, there will be a request to fund additional positions at the Council on Aging. What you may not know is that the police, the library, the IT departments are all seeking additional staff as well. Select board's job is to consider all the proposed budgets, the TA's recommendations, and finalize the budget for approval before April's annual town meeting. Because of state Proposition 2.5 restrictions, we can't increase tax rates on residents above this annual threshold without ballot override approval during town elections. The school committee will also be seeking funding for a new elementary school, which would result in an override question to fund a $90 million of construction costs and a significant increase on homeowner tax bills.
So we
So-
talked about that last month, actually.
It's in this, financials are, as always, in discussion, but,
Well, I
Karen
like the way
just
she-
wanted to let us know what was going on.
I like the
what they
way
got on
she
their plate.
put it, I mean, it
Yeah.
really involves a discussion of whether to put forth a balanced budget within our means as a town, which would exclude any of the new position requests, or potentially end up reducing that would end up reducing services to residents. So in other words, being realistic, even on our end, I mean, assistant director, that's a full-time position, and I think it's one that would fulfill a lot of our needs. At the same time, maybe a part-time social worker is absolutely something we could use and would benefit from, and I think that'll speak to them honestly, and also the fact that we could fund it out of the formula grant. Or something that would truly help us out, all the staff and the senior center in general, would be a media and activities assistant, someone who could really do a lot of the stuff we don't get to.
Mhm.
That we need. Communication is important, we know today that's everything, and that is something that's lacking. So, however, if we can't do it, we just do what we can and continue, but I will try to make that,
But I think we need to ask for it,
yes, we do.
Yeah.
because I don't think anybody else who's looking for additional funding is voluntarily gonna cut back their request.
So making the case for how we would
Right.
use these positions and why we need them, I will do that.
Do you get a annual cost of living increase, increase in the budget just from year to year?
No.
You got a little Formula One, right?
Although, I guess you could say, since our salaries, we might get a 2% cost of living raise. Well, it depends on where you are
So
in your
those
steps.
don't come out of your budget, they come out of the town's budget, is what you're saying?
No, because that category of salary, so to speak, is a different number if there are raises, right? So it's a bigger number. So it might go from 305,000 to 315,000, let's just say, for example, that might be the case. It's not, and I don't have those numbers in front of me. The other parts of the budget level funded would be, your utilities, your cost of spending on supplies,
But even those costs go up there.
well, yes.
Yeah.
They do. So, we'll see. Like, we're finding even in FY '25, I didn't really put in for as much of the repairs and maintenance of internal stuff as I should have, I'm finding. Things are coming up. Now, we have, let's say we don't spend on equipment that I might have budgeted for, so it can come from that.
Mhm.
But just things like, we had a kitchen problem, we needed to have the drain pumped in the, what do you call it, the grease trap
Oh.
emptied and, you know, so whatever that's going to be, that wasn't anticipated. The sprinkler system testing, stuff like that, that I didn't really have a handle on before, so that's being added. But not to a great extent. The trash pickup, I mean, that, we've whittled it down, and now it's just what they need to charge us, so it's not bad, but that was a big expense for a while. Facilities covers our utilities, so
Right.
that's not part of the budget
Right.
anymore. So that brought us
Helps.
down a little bit,
Right.
so that it's not as noticeable that the salaries were.
It helps on your budget, it's still coming out of the
It's
same.
still coming out of the town,
Yeah,
right? It
same
all does.
bucket,
Yeah,
town.
it's the same.
But-
Good point. So when I submit a request for another position, that is factored in, like what is the salary recommended, what would be the benefits attached to that, how much is that really going to increase the budget, and that's. The 2 part-time positions, I feel we could probably do in the formula grant, but right now, we are using the formula grant a lot to
Cover
subsidize programs, which we don't have a budget for. And although we charge for them, we charge nominally at mostly $5, $6, only one thing is $10. I mean, granted, you can't expect everything to be free. At the same time, the idea is not that it's a country club where your expenses, your spending here, it's not supposed to be spending here. Lunch is $5, because that's what it should be, not that it couldn't go up. And it could go up, because we're spending more than we're
Yeah.
taking in on lunches.
Yeah. Yeah.
By at least a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
But so far, that is supported, and I will say that is supported by the town right now. Although I don't have those numbers in front of me either. We had thought that it would equalize with the revenue coming in and the spending, but the food costs are so high that the budget line item that they added for us to start the program and to support the program is really being used to support the program. Yeah. And so we don't have to raise the price of lunch. So they are doing that. I guess what I feel like is, as far as assistant director, let's say, goes, it's a slightly more, without having very specific needs for that job, other than support for me and picking up certain other initiatives, let's say the tax work-off program, and being able to spend a little bit more time growing that and making that successful, not that it hasn't been. Grants, other professional
Maybe
development.
grants could help us find some money to be
Pay for
able to.
itself
right.
virtually,
For itself,
if
that's
you get the
true.
money coming in.
So there's many things that either I'm not getting to or being done, a little bit more, less diligently. So we know the job is there, or it would be combined, it could be combined with other things, so we'll see. I will do my best to present that in such a way that they
Mhm.
understand, and I'm sure they do. All right, they do.
Mhm. Very good.
But I do see
Yeah,
what we're up against. We're either
We're
up
up
against,
against,
less
right.
services, or at least not as many as we would like to provide in the way we'd like to provide them, or an override to the town asking for them to support these positions. So-
So we're gonna have that now for an override.
But if it's not us, it might be
Right.
somebody else, and that
Right.
does seem like,
Right,
I mean, you're not gonna get 90 million for the schools without an override.
right.
Right. Everybody remember to go to that town meeting.
and they are supportive, and I do feel that they will be supportive. I have no doubt I'm gonna go there, and, everybody's happy, and I think they know everybody's happy. I think they hear it.
Agreed. Does anyone have any other business to bring to the table? So just while we're here, I'll throw it out again, because I did a little bit. What's happening between now and Christmas, besides the chorus?
Good question. We are next week.
Just so people know.
Besides the lunch and tomorrow's sold out, but next week, we are injecting some frivolity, I guess, and some celebration just into the regular day, so that it is a nice lunch on Monday, but then there is holiday singo happening right afterwards. So singo is musical bingo, we play songs,
That's Monday?
you look at your bingo card or your single card and see what you have, and then it's the same operation, and there are prizes, good prizes, and nice music, and it's gonna be fun. So that's after lunch on
Okay.
Monday.
Okay.
Tuesday's the holiday course at 4, so it's just lunch and then that. Wednesday, we have a pianist, Steve Lenzolata, coming to play during lunch. And then Thursday, after a nice lunch, again, it's a nice lunch. Hate to go out on a limb and say that, because now I think that's wrong, it's not Haddock, but, then we're bringing
You don't
in,
need to quote us on the meals.
I know, then we're bringing someone new in to do a holiday trivia, so it's a real, he's doing a whole program of trivia.
When's
which
that?
We've been waiting to
Thursday?
try, we really think people will like that, and that's at 1 o'clock following lunch on Thursday.
That's Thursday. Busy
So
week,
those are the
as
Christmas
always.
things
What, busy
we're
week.
doing. I've mentioned the challenge of trying to have like a party and when and how when we do lunch, but we can only do lunch for so many, and then you can't really have a party when everybody can come. So it's been a challenge, and we're still working on that. So this is how we're trying to bring people in.
Anything the following week?
And the following week, thank you,
Off the top
JD,
of your head?
my prompter. The following week, on Thursday, the 28th, pre-New Year's Eve celebration, we, following lunch again, is the WSU, whoever shows up band, but
Oh,
yet they
yeah,
all
okay.
wanna show up
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot of music, they're fun, it's bluegrass, it's a little
Yep, whatever.
variety, and there should be about 15 of them playing. And so we'll have festive refreshments, snacks, and a toast at some point
Which day is that?
for New Year's Eve, that's Thursday. Is that your day?
The 28th?
Is
No.
that your day?
But I might show up.
I hope so, so do show up. Yes, so that's what we're doing after lunch.
This time when you show up, you wear the board badge.
Board badge, volunteer badge, yeah. So that is, yeah, that's it.
Awesome, busy month. Well, congratulations again on the accreditation. Does anyone else have any business to bring to the table?
Just, are we going to replace Joan? She said usually it's a board member that
You know,
goes-
I suppose we could put that in the newsletter as being potentially a need for the board, which is a liaison to social elder services. It's up to us, I believe, to select that person. It's not up to social elder services, who isn't going to do it unless we put
She said
someone
it's usually a
for.
board member from a local town. Marie at that point indicated an interest, but I don't know if she's still
No,
involved.
she is not interested at this point. So I don't know if anyone else is. It could be, I mean, Joan had been on the board, but
Yeah,
now
for
was
years.
not,
Right,
just became the liaison.
yeah.
Especially where she was familiar with them, she's for years has supported the Meals on Wheels
Yep.
program. So, you know, it's still someone we could recruit if one of the active board members didn't want that position, because it does involve yet another meeting monthly
In travel.
and travel. Yeah. So, but we could probably put that up there.
Well, I've said this before, my idea is to find someone in Scituate who works with Southern Elder Services,
Oh,
who can come and get out of work early and come here once a month to give us a report on what's going on in social elder services.
That would
I
be,
didn't know you were
So-
saying that.
Yeah, I've been saying that for 2 months.
I didn't.
So let them come back to us
Yeah.
and let them be our liaison because they live in Scituate even though they're working there.
It's an alley, right?
So, and there's at least a couple of people in Scituate that are going over there, so, I mean, I talked to social elder services at the open house, at the health fair, and said, why don't you guys figure this out for us? But I haven't
I
heard anything.
think it's important for us to stay connected, closer to
Yeah,
them.
Well, I mean, I know a couple of the people, I don't know if I know everyone. If there's any ideas for who we
Yeah.
might contact to see if they'd be interested, please let me know.
we'll get you out of work early and beat the traffic to get this back home to Scituate and get back here by 5:15 on once a month. And give
That's a
it-
promise.
And give us a report. So, but yeah, I mean, I specifically spoke to the people that were at the health fair. I'm not sure if I got her, might have gotten her card, but I'm not sure if I got her name.
All right, sorry to be
But-
honest, but I don't remember either.
So, yeah, we, you know, it'd be good to have that liaison, but, we could do it, them come to us as opposed to us go to them, in my opinion. So.
Do we know people in Scituate who work with?
Well, we know, I know a
Can-
couple,
Yeah,
but there's more, there are more, I don't know if there's two more, or
Right.
more than I can think of right
We'd
now.
have to-
but
we'd have to-
I know a couple.
we'd have to do a little research and ask, but there's at least a few that are
Well,
out
the
there.
truth is maybe for another meeting, but the Mass Commission on Disabilities, we've talked about a liaison either to them or from them as well, who might want to be on the board, but that's never really come to fruition. That was another discussion. And I don't know how often or regularly they meet, whether it is once a month or less, could be less. That has come up.
Any other questions, comments?
You might ask Dot if she knows, a lot of the people that she worked with there have moved on.
Mm-hmm,
Because they do have turnover, and then there were a lot of people who
mm-hmm,
retired.
mm-hmm.
But
You're right.
she did know a lot of people, so
Mhm,
she might
okay.
be able to give you a name or something.
I will. Thank you. I will do that. You want a motion?
I want a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second motion.
Leslie and
It's
Pat.
unanimous.
Very good. Yeah.
Next
unanimous.
meeting, January 11th?
Next meeting, January 11th.
Very good. Thanks, everyone.